Professor Slack, an honor and pleasure to be with you as part of our signature program, Artists of Science. Let us know shortly about your career, your achievements, something that you are proud of, in a short...
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm a professor now of pathology and medicine, but I didn't start out that way. I started out as a scientist really interested in developmental biology and developmental genetics. And basically, over the course of my career, starting working in microbiology, working in very simple organisms that have complex developmental processes, we've come to realize that we can discover fundamental mechanisms of how genes are controlled during development of these organisms. And that discovery has led me to realize that some of these gene regulatory mechanisms involve non-coding RNAs, small RNAs, and these RNAs actually regulate disease genes. And so we've been able to take that idea and now use these small RNAs as potential therapies and new options for patients that have no hope for their disease.
Patients, cancer patients, you mean?
Mostly in my work it's been cancer patients.
Okay.
We also have some work in Alzheimer's disease, but the field has grown beyond just cancer. So you have
worked on Alzheimer's also?
Yes, we have some work in Alzheimer's, looking for non-coding RNAs that are important in the disease. You know, it's very difficult right now to think about treating Alzheimer's patients, but we still need to understand the disease. Okay. And these non-coding RNAs help us understand the disease better. Mm-hmm. Maybe 5-10 years from now, we might have some new handles to tackle that disease.
So if you go back 40, 30 years, you would have chosen the same path?
Oh, I've been blessed. I mean, I came out of high school knowing that I wanted to study genes and genetics and developmental biology. So I knew what I wanted. I went to undergraduate at the University of Cape Town just studying science. I mean, I did nothing else. It was a little bit scary if you think about it. I did maths, chemistry, physics, biology, math 2, physics 2, chemistry 2, biology 2, and that was basically, you know, how I progressed. And then I knew I wanted to do a PhD. I did my PhD in developmental genetics, looking at microbiology, and then I did my postdoc looking at development of the nematode C. elegans. And I was fortunate enough to be a postdoctoral fellow with Gary Ruvkin, who just recently got the Nobel Prize for discovering microRNAs, and that was part of the work that I did when I was in his lab. So I can't think of a better path that I took, and I'm very grateful for all the people that have helped me along the way and provided me with outstanding training. So yeah, I have absolutely no regrets. Nobody
told you in Cape Town why in science you have no money? Why not in law? No, yeah. I'm sociology. No,
I mean that was always an option for me because my mother was a teacher, my father was a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
And so originally I think they maybe thought that I would go into law.
Be a lawyer.
Yeah, but I was hooked on science from an early age. So I bucked that trend. I distinctly remember though exactly what you're talking about. My friends were going into finance and into law, and they were driving nice cars, and I was still in a clunker. But you know, this is the way science is. You don't do it for the money. You do it for the passion and maybe help humanity.
Yeah, sure, but also financial support is also important.
It is nice. It is nice, and I mean, it's not like
it gives you more possibility than without.
Yeah, correct? I mean the funding. Since I started my own lab, I've been continuously funded by the U.S. government, the National Institutes of Health, and I'm very grateful for that funding. And they continue to support me, and hopefully they'll support me in the future as well.
So, no regrets.
I have no regrets. No.
Any regrets in your life? Any?
I mean, maybe I think. Some of the most disappointing things that have happened to me in my life is to see the effects of cancer in my own family. Both of my parents passed away from cancer We have other
That's why
people
you're in
my family.
cancer.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe I should have started working on it a little bit earlier.
Oh.
I mean, I only started working in cancer maybe 15 years ago, but I could have started working earlier.
So it's something you regret?
That might be a regret. Yeah.
What was the best decision in your life?
I mean, I still think that what I do now has the chance to help cancer patients in the future, but I didn't have the time to help my parents.
Okay, and the worst decision?
The worst decision that I ever made, I don't know whether I've made any really bad decisions. I mean, I think...
Or something you would have done better?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe when I was a graduate student, the one choice that I made was to stay in a wet lab environment, meaning I did experiments with my hands, with solutions and animals and microscopes, but at the same time, when I was learning this burgeoning idea of bioinformatics and looking at genomes and genomics was starting to emerge, and I felt like I had the opportunity to go and maybe learn that now and get in on the ground floor, and I was just too involved with my experiments, and I didn't do that. I think if I'd done that, I would have maybe been a more complete scientist than I am now. So I mean, I think that I didn't envision that the world was going to be so full of data, and the people that can analyze the data are going to be the ones that are really successful.
And what about you mentioned experimenter, you are still doing experiment yourself?
I do thought experiments. so I'll think of new ideas, I'll think of new projects, and then I'll talk to people in my lab about potentially pursuing that. I haven't done an actual wet lab experiment for probably 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I try to stay engaged with the science, and I try to stay engaged with my lab. But I'm also running 2 institutes, and there's just a lot of things that pull me on the side. Yeah.
So, how much free time you have?
I mean, I work as much as I need to get the work done. I try not to work too much when I get home, but it's hard not to get pulled into emails and into reading papers and things like that.
Do you cut yourself off?
I do cut myself off. Yeah, usually,
It's a good idea.
After dinner. Yeah, I mean, I didn't used to. I mean, I think I worked probably more hours because I was the only one doing the experiments. And it was all my work. But I think now that I have the opportunity to sort of delegate projects, I can sort of cut myself off at a particular time, like after dinner. Maybe I'll read my emails just before bed, and if there's anything urgent, I just sort of say, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. So you have found that famous balance, work and life? You think so?
Yeah, I think I have.
As far as I know, nobody's found.
I try to find it, and I try to impress on my lab as well that there is a work-life balance that one has to find, and you have to make time for family. One thing that a lot of scientists know when they come into science is that it takes you away from your family quite a lot. You have to be in the laboratory for long hours. The travel, if you're coming to Crete for a conference, that's a week of time that you're away from your family. I have tried to impress on my lab that they need to make time for that. And now that I'm able to, now that my children have left home, my wife can join me on these travels.
Children are in science?
My one son is an engineer.
Okay.
He's a mechanical engineer. My daughter is a political scientist. So she's I don't know what exactly she might end up doing, but probably something like non-profit work or
so
maybe
politics is engineering, and your wife is in science?
Yeah, my wife is a scientist. She's a microbiologist.
Oh, almost the same field.
Yeah, almost the same field. Yeah, we can understand each other's work, which is good.
Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah,
it depends on what you ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Some say it's better different professions.
I would say it's been good for me because she understands the frustrations, and she understands the long hours, and she understands the travel. Yeah. I mean, the travel is a very important part of what we do, going to meet people and talking about our work and having people learn what we do. It's very important. but it can take you away from your family for long times. And she's been very understanding about that.
And hobbies? Do you have any hobbies?
I like to do a few things. I like to take photographs, for example.
Photographs?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a nice camera setup, which I don't always take with me, but now that I have a cell phone that takes good pictures, I like to take pictures, and I have a Flickr site, so I upload my photographs to Flickr.
I take picture also, but that's the only hobby.
Yeah, that's my most important hobby. I would say I do a fair amount.
What about the workout, exercise, sport? Not so much.
I like watching sports, but I don't actually do much sport anymore. I used to play rugby when I was younger, and I got so injured I couldn't keep playing.
So the last question is, if somebody asks you an advice, they are at 20s, should they choose your path?
Yeah.
What is the strongest argument?
Yeah, I mean, I have people asking me that all the time, actually.
Yeah.
I have undergraduate students, I have visiting graduate students.
Before starting.
Even at the high school level.
Exactly.
I've actually given talks to high school students as well, including my own high school back in South Africa. And I tell them that this is a very rewarding career. I tell them you're probably not going to earn as much money as someone
without money, okay.
Yeah. It's not for the money, but you know, we get to study something that we want to study. We don't get told what to do. Okay. It's a fantastic job to be your own boss. So I've loved that all the way through. I mean, if I wanted to go and study, you know, cardiac disease or hypertension, I can start studying it. So I love that side of what we do. It's just very free.
That's probably the strongest point.
Yeah, I think freedom is great.
Perfect. Okay then. Thank you. A pleasure.
Thank you very much.
An honor being with you.
Yes.
Wish you more success ahead.
Thank you.
Continuous success is a better word.
Continued success, yes.
Continuous success.
Thank you, and same to you.
Thank you again.
All the best. Bye-bye.